up? It's your boy Hamlet, and we're bringing you another live edition here. And thanks for being here and watching. If you're new to the channel, don't forget, mash that like button, mash the subscribe button, drop a comment down below at the end of the video, and let us know what you think. All right. Let me fix this camera here. I thought I had it in a decent spot, but um, let's see. That should be good. We got trucking with Floshan Parks. I think you're the first one in the house. So chasing Andrew Jackson, you missed it. Jordan Walk, what's up, buddy? And Chio Rocha, what's up, guys? How are you guys doing on this beautiful Saturday? So, or chasing Andrew Jackson, you might have beat Loshan. I'm not sure. Anyway, let's talk about it. What I brought up in the title of the video is dispatching your trucking company. Let's talk about it. Let's dive into this. Low shot. I'm the damn winner. All right, let's talk about it. Let's talk about, how would you dispatch? That's the topic today. How would you dispatch your trucking company, if given a chance to? I guess. Now, I said I was going to be talking about it in the other video, about beginning of owning a fleet of, how are you going to dispatch your drivers or whatnot. Now, there's many different companies that are out there right now, and every company kind of does it a little bit differently. Now, we have people operating off load boards, people operating off, force dispatch, or regular dispatch, and people just and those are like kind of like the main ways of getting your loads to your driver, because that's the question, is trying to figure out how are you going to get the load to the driver, and trying to figure that out is, with the way you have your resources put up in your company, and trying to make sense of what is going to make sense or whatnot. Now, if you take, for instance, right, a company I used to work for, US Express, the way they ran their company is you had a CSR planner, and you had your dispatcher, or your fleet, your DM, or your fleet manager. Well, you had your CSR, your fleet manager, and then you had your regular dispatcher. So you had three people in play, and then of course you have the driver. Now, being the driver, trying to figure out where to get your loads from, depending how your system is set up, you're going to always be talking to possibly one person or maybe multiple persons. In that setup with US Express, the way they did it with the CSR planner, what the CSR planner did, he or she was responsible for booking the loads, right? Booking the loads for the trucks, or I don't even think they were booking the loads, right? What the CSR planner was doing per se was, actually they were booking the loads. You know what? No, it's really hard to say. See, like the CSR planner, and I guess it's kind of different talking about it, because you have, with a mega company, you don't really, you're not really operating off a load board per se, what loads are available. You're really operating kind of off of your customers' demands, because you're not really working for, all these different brokerage companies. You're going to be just really working for, General Mills cereal, or Tyson chicken plant, these kind of things. So the shipper is going to be contacting you, about what company, about what loads that they have available. And so I'm assuming that the CSR planner is the person that, looks at these loads and kind of divvy them up between the different fleets. And that's how US Express was doing it. They sent the loads off here, they sent off the loads here to this different fleet, and every fleet had about 5 trucks. And that's what the manager, the dispatcher was managing off the 5 trucks, and depending off that, the dispatcher was managing those loads. Now, of course, US Express is a company of what, 5,000 trucks. So, you know, maybe that might not be very relevant for you to hire additional people just to, do so many different levels, because you probably only have, 1 to 10 trucks or 20 trucks, 30 trucks. So, the question is trying to figure out the resources of what you have and what's the best way to make things work for yourself. Now, people talk about, forced dispatch, how that can be an issue with some drivers, or you have, do you have a load board, Now, in my opinion, if you have a company driver and you have, a load board option, you're more than likely not going to be putting, if you have control of your own load board, and, and you have put in money to a trucking software where you're able to see, the loads that you get from your shippers and for your shippers, and load from other load boards from brokerage, and you input that information onto a separate onto your own separate software. That's what you're probably going to be doing. So is it really like the driver is picking their own loads, because it's already, you're going to be, as a manager for your company, you're making sure that you're not just going to put any load on there that's not going to run the company profitable, right? You're not going to, you understand what I'm saying? Because as a driver, depending on how the driver is set up, how your pay is set up, whether you paid on percentage or you're paid on by the mile. If you, let's take an instance, if you're paid by the mile, the driver is going to look at the load with the most amount of miles, and always going to choose the load with the most amount of miles, because he's going to get paid more, So the driver is really not, looking at what to see how much the load is paying, because he can give a shit about if, the company makes $1,000 off of it, or 2,000, or 500, or $10, or maybe even goes negative doing that load, right? So it's going to be your best interest to not, put the loads that don't make sense on that load board. You know what I'm saying? So is it really, and then you come back to the question: is it really a choice board or anything like that? It goes back to saying no. You're kind of being forced dispatch, but as a driver and being an employee, we're telling you to go ahead and do this load for us, because this is what makes sense for the company. And so you're, as an employee, you kind of have to do what you're told, right? So setting up, dispatching, there's multiple ways of doing it. Now, you have other companies that are set up that, they don't have a CSR planner. They just have dispatchers, and they have X amount of trucks, and they find the different loads per the truck. Now, as you grow bigger, let's just say for the guys that are operating 1, 2, or 3 truck operations, you're the boss, the guy that's either driving the truck or managing the company from at home or whatnot. You're more than likely going to be either driving or at home while you're picking these loads, right? And eventually, as you get more, more trucks, it's going to be a harder thing to do, finding loads while driving, right? Until you actually dedicate your full position, right? Your resources, going back to your resources, what people do you have available in your back office to find the right loads and to make things profitable for your business, right? So, obviously when you're starting off at 1 or 2 trucks, you're probably going to be dispatching yourself, and you're going to be dispatching your other truck as well. And then, when you're at more than that, you're probably going to want to hire somebody to do back office work, and you might give them, the power to look for their own loads. or hell, you might even give the power of finding the loads to your drivers. Depending on how you have things set up. Um, Now, my only thing is that dispatching is, in my eyes, right? This is my opinion. In my eyes, is a very there. It's an art, right? You have to be able to have been doing it for quite a while, or understand money, miles, and time management, right? And understand also hours of service, because if you put anybody into the dispatching arena, or you hire somebody off the block and say, hey, my man, I just need you to dispatch, just find these loads, blah, blah, make sure they come out to this much, somebody might choose, an inexperienced dispatcher might choose a load, that might look like it's paying hella good, and it's like 800 miles. Well, is that 800 mile load even profitable now because it's a 2-day run instead of a 1-day run? Stuff like that. And that's why I say I find dispatching to be kind of like an art. You have to have a skill set in or been an experience doing it, so that when you hire somebody to do it, you're not just wasting your money. You see what I'm saying? And so choosing the sorry, I got 2 calls coming in. Sorry about that. So choosing the right loads. Is that somebody? No. All right. Sorry about that. So choosing the right loads. If you hired a dispatcher, you got to make sure that they are experienced in doing so, and that they're making your choosing the right loads is what's going to make your company money. End of the day. If you're running out here on cheap freight and everything, it's only a matter of time before you go under, or you can't afford to pay your drivers, or you can't afford to run your operation, just straight up. So I feel like that is something that if you have been driving, let's just say the timeline, if you've been driving yourself, the guy or the girl that owns the company, if you have been driving out here for quite some time and been doing the owner opting for quite some time as well, you're going to know your lanes, right? You should know your lanes, and you should know your rates, right? I mean, unless you've just been kind of running under a mega carrier and running by the mile and not percentage, right? And that's a whole nother video to talk about, because now, let's just say you were running, and these are no shots, we're just talking about owning a trucking company and managing the business, right? If you were running, right, let's just say you were owner operator, whether or not you were owner operator at JB Hunt, or you know what, let me scratch that, because last time I heard, Darnell told me JB Hunt is getting paid percentage, not by the mile. Let's just talk about these mega companies, right? If you're running by these mega companies and you're getting paid by the mile on your loads as an owner operator or a lease operator, and you've been doing that for 5 years, and you come out here, on your own authority and kind of running your own trucking company, if you take that same practices that you were doing at the mega companies and apply it here, it's not going to work. Definitely not going to work, and that's not a shot to anybody, but it's basic math. That's not going to work. It's 2 different models of how to run your trucking company, and it's definitely not going to work. So that's why I said, if you have been being paid percentage and running decent freight for a couple years or 6 months, and your stuff, if you're knowing your numbers at the end of the day and figuring out what makes sense, you're going to find out whether or not you're going to be putting yourself in the dispatcher role, right, as the boss, or if you're going to be hiring somebody else because you don't have that much experience in doing, in dispatching and finding the right loads, finding the right paying loads and all that, because you might know as a driver, okay, this load makes sense. I know I can get this off and on every day, right? You know, because you have experience in driving a truck and doing this for so long that you know your hours of service, right? But do you have the business mindset, or how long have you been doing this for? And we're back. I'm sorry. I don't know if it always crashes, but it just did. But you have to have, you know, the experience and the knowledge to know that this lane actually pays a lot more than what you think it pays, right? And that's one of the secrets, folks, because you could have been doing a lane, you know, that pays, let's just say $1,500 for a whole 2-3 years, and you think everything is all good, but then somebody comes around and tells you, why are you holding that for 1,500? I'm getting 2,000, and that right there is $500, you know, on once delivering that load one time. So if you've been doing it for 3 years, or God knows how many times, you see how much lost money that is? That can easily make a truck payment, or insurance, or fuel, or, you know, it can easily pay out, you know, even if a load just pays out an extra 200 or $300, or even $100, hell, and you didn't have the experience of knowing so, because you put yourself in the dispatching part of your company. You see how that makes sense? You know, I'm not saying that, you know, nobody can do this. You know, it's just a learning curve, right? Because this is all statistics, right? Once you've been operating your trucking company for a year, you probably have done the same load, or at least the same lane, multiple times, and you would figure out, okay, well, at this time of the year, this lane should be paying this, right or wrong. And by you figuring that out, you know, you're gonna get better at the dispatching for your company, you know. Now, that there's another part of the conversation here. And the other part of the conversation is, you know, how are you gonna, you know, have the relationship between the driver and the dispatcher? You know, let's just say you decide to hire a dispatcher, and you have, let's say, 7 trucks, right? And um you really can't afford um another dispatcher, right? You really can't afford to hire another dispatcher. You can only afford one, right? And you have them managing 7 of your trucks. You know, are you gonna bog down? You know, are you gonna want the phones bogged down on the dispatcher when the drivers are calling them about the loads and all this other stuff, when you can be putting yourself kind of in the middle and kind of dishing out the loads to every driver, and then you kind of being the middleman? You know, everybody hates having the middleman, because it's kind of like that's where information gets lost, you know. um, and I'm just here to talk about it. You know, how will you set up your trucking company? So let's see what comments we got rolling in here right now. um, we got Fight for the Future. What's up, Hamlet? This is Richard from Portales, New Mexico. Live the simple. Okay. And we got, let's see what we got here. What's up, haters? You're not doing nothing. All right. We have, all right, we got a comment here. This is, I don't even know if I want to read this, so I'm just going to go ahead and read it. Um, this is tagging Loshan. You don't make money at RST with that forced dispatch and low rates, 220 max. Then Prime taking their cut. You have 2 companies take. Okay. I'm just gonna say my piece, and I don't know what Loshan has going. I don't know his numbers, right? And if you are RST, I doubt, you know, if you're not at RST and you're just talking from the outside, you know, I doubt you know their numbers. So, and it crashed again, and number. So I'm just gonna go ahead and remove this comment. Let's see if we could do that. And Put user. There you go. All right. So, anyways, if you just jumped in to the live feed, and sorry for to continue crashing, don't forget to mash the like button, mash the subscribe button, and drop a comment down below. Um, let's see, we got no more comments coming in. I'm not sure if this thing is reacting good. If somebody can give me a good mic test, because this thing already crashed twice. But anyhow, finishing on the subject, trying to figure that out, based off the what you have available to you as your resources. Sometimes, all right, we got C Malone. Sometimes dispatch gets in the way, in my experience. All right. This is true. This is true, right? Because now he brings the other thing, right? You got weekend dispatch, right? And everybody has experience in weekend dispatching. It's the worst, right? And that, in my point of view, weekend dispatch sucks and can definitely get in the way, because sometimes they don't answer the phones, right? And if you're a driver and you're trying to figure out, the pickup number, or you're trying to find the right address and you're lost, or you don't have the right address, or multiple of reasons, dispatch can get in the way. And if they're not giving you the right loads, as a driver, based off your own home time, or if you needed to get things done, and you tell them, hey, I need this because of this reason, and they're not able to accommodate you, that there's dispatching can get in the way, of course, but then that's really one of those other things, as a company driver. If you're getting dicked around, and excuse my language, but if you're getting messed around with, and you're trying to go home, and they send you in the opposite direction, what kind of trucking company are you working with? You're working for? No shots, but granted, this is trucking, and shit does happen. Not always does everybody get to go home on time, but for the most part, it shouldn't be stuff like that, right? So at least without a reason, you know what I'm saying? And that goes back to dispatching your company once again, because if you are, if you don't want your CSR planner, right? If that's what you decide to do, kind of, you be the dispatcher, you being the middleman, and kind of like shoving the loads between your 5 or 10 trucks, and nobody talking to the main guy of who's assigning the load. Your drivers might feel some kind of way, because why are you giving me this load? This load makes no sense, and them not being able to kind of communicate to that person who assigned them that particular load will get drivers very angry as well, because a driver gets a load that's 100 miles and is getting paid by a percentage. That driver is going to be like, why are you even giving me that? Why are you giving me this load? That makes no sense, and he's going to be angry at you, because and because he can't contact the main guy or the main woman that gave him that load. If this all makes sense to you, and this is back to whole US Express and how they kind of ran their business, so you got to be able to kind of like pacify drivers, in a sort of sense, kind of giving that communication. Hey, listen, the reason why we gave you this load is because this is your load that's kind of going home, or this is the load because there was no other loads. As long as everybody's kind of communication, which is the biggest key here about dispatching, is communication. If the driver got to be able to communicate to the dispatcher what his hours of service are, and the driver has to be able to tell if they can't actually deliver that load, if they're too tired, or whatever may have you, and so using your proper resources is key when you're having multiple trucks out here, and them running the show, and trying to figure out who's where and who's what, with the whole dispatching. Which another brings up another good thing is, you know, tracking your trucks or whatnot and knowing the whereabouts of your truck, which is a whole nother video to talk about. So we got back to the comments here. Um, he has no clue, Loshan. He has no clue, Hamlet. We don't argue with fools because people from a distance can't tell who is who. Exactly. But just to bust his bubble truck, did 2.54 mile all miles this week. I'm just saying. Well, there you go. I mean, I can't say that, you know, Loshan is not making money because obviously he's buying trucks, right? So money's got to be coming from somewhere, right? So not wrapping myself up in any of that stuff. We got SoCal Trucking Gang in the building. What's up, guys? So don't forget, after watching this video, we got a group on there, SoCal Trucking Gang on Facebook, where we share some information that doesn't make itself to YouTube for whatever reason. But go ahead and go on there and sign up and join the group or whatnot. So anyways, I'm pretty much done talking about that, you know, about, you know, dispatching, you know, and here's the other thing, you know, back to dispatching is, you know, how are you going to be dispatching your trucks? Like, how are you going to be giving them the load information? Are you going to be doing it through a Qualcomm? You know, are you going to be doing it through text message, or through an app? You know, all these different things, you know, and you also want to make sure that, you know, you communicate with the drivers and let them know, and let them tell you, you know, how was that pickup or how was that delivery? You know, is this one of these places that we kind of need to avoid next time, because, you know, we want to make sure things go as smooth as possible for the business, and making sure, you know, we're not gonna do another load that requires 6 hours of detention, because who the hell wants to be sitting around waiting at a dock, right? So we got Bugatti the Trucker, nice $2.54. Bugatti Trucker, that's what's up. All right. We got David Kruger, word. So anyways, I think that's gonna be what the video is entailing of, and I hope you guys get the message. Get the message of what I was pointing across is, you know, trying to figure out, while, you know, you're driving down the road, is how you're going to, you know, be dispatching your other company, excuse me, your other trucks or whatnot. So anyhow, I'm going to probably be doing another video later on today, and talking about the new truck that we got and maintenance, and, you know, kind of how much money I'm at right now with this truck. If anybody's interested in that, I can still do like a, you know, another video on what to look for in the trucks. I did get a couple of things fixed on this truck, unfortunately, and I wasn't able to squeeze in that video, so I really apologize about that. But anyhow, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, smash that like button on the way out. And this was a nice 30 minutes talking to you guys, and hopefully you guys found this video conversational and invaluable information, you know, to consider when you're going to run your trucking company or per se or whatnot. But anyhow, the way I'm kind of running things right now is at a 3 truck operation. I'm just including my trucks. I'm not going to include the other owner operators, because they go off their own load board, and sometimes they have the option of using the dispatcher. So I'm going to just go off my 3 trucks for right now. And the way I'm running it is the dispatcher is finding the loads, and from time to time I look at the load board myself and try to see if I can assist. And maybe I might find something that the dispatcher might have missed, you know. But for now, that's the way I'm going to be running it. I think, I don't know, I'm not sure when I'll be getting off the road, but maybe the end of next year. That's what I'm planning for. At that time, maybe we might have 10 trucks or more, not sure. But you know, I really enjoy driving and making this money out here. So anyways, folks, just understand the message of the video and trying to understand where to put your resources to work at, as employees and whatnot. So, anyways, we got Darnell Gully coming in thin. So, anyways, folks, I gotta get loaded up. This is the gentleman right here. Give me 1 second. How you doing, sir?
You want to get in the one forklift?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just gonna back up and pull in that gate I opened.
Pull in that gate? Okay.
And then there's another gate over here I can open and let you out.
Do I go around that Chevy Blazer?
Yeah, you're just gonna pull straight up towards this fence over here.
Okay. Is it that red forklift?
No.
Okay.
No, I got one in the building.
All right.
I'm gonna roll back over there. What I'll do, I'll load it on my truck.
Okay.
And then load it on yours.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you. So, anyways, folks, let's read these last comments here. Why not book your own load to make the best bank for your truck? And Bugatti the truck, that's what I was trying to say is that, if you are a driver yourself as the CEO of the company, you got to find that time to book those loads, and sometimes that might not always work, right? Because you might be busy strapping down a load or getting loaded, or you might even be sleeping, right? So that's all I'm talking about from experience right now. David Kruger, I think it's smart to have a higher dispatch, know how hard it is to dispatch a fleet from the road. I could do it, but it was better when I had to hire an assistant to do it, pardon me. And that's from real life experience, from a hardcore killer Marine, Semper Fi, David Kruger. All right, he had his own little taxi cab company, and he said this was not fun. It was definitely a lot easier, and for sure, I can say when I hired the dispatcher, I have a lot more time to myself now, and to focus on other part of the businesses. So, anyways, at the end of the day, folks, it's simple. You get busy living, or you get busy dying. It's your boy Hamlet. Check y'all later. All right.